Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us for our third practice management event of 2025. Quick personal note, I just moved into a new downtown office, and so like any big move, there was messy and long nights, but now that we're all settled, it feels like a new slate for our firm. And just like that new office, today's event is about giving your practice a clean slate in the digital age. Simplicity is the ultimate level of sophistication, and that's why today we're aiming to make digital content simple, effective, and impactful. For those of you who haven't attended a Zoom webinar before, please use the Q&A box throughout the event, and we'll take questions as we go. This session is being recorded, and it'll be posted on our website. If there's any speakers or topics you think we should highlight next, please send me a message on LinkedIn. We'll also run a poll towards the end of today's event where you can vote on our next webinar topic. Innovation is a team sport, and the more that we all share ideas and collectively get better, that's honestly the only way it's going to happen. So we need to operate as a community. Recently, we launched bite-sized highlights of these live events on Spotify and YouTube as podcasts. So please feel free to follow those, listen, or give us a rating. That just helps us reach more advisory practices. Today, we're going to be talking about the threads of traditional marketing that lead to successful digital marketing. Ultimately, the goal of marketing is simple. It's to attract potential clients, to build trust, and map that marketing to your client journey. It's really about just being real online, which I think many of us can learn a thing or two about. We're very good in person with our clients, but we all need to practice the digital aspect of being real. And so hopefully today will provide you with some of that insight that you can apply to your practices right away. Luckily, I've got two friends joining me today who live at the intersection of finance and creativity. We've got Emily Reed from Hey Advisor, as well as Chris Brittain from Sage Path Consulting. Emily helps advisors win in the digital age through content that actually connects with clients. At our firm, we use Hey Advisor weekly to make complex topics simple and relatable through infographics and videos. Chris has been shaping advisor brands and client experiences for over a decade. And when he's not doing that, he's typically under the hood, fine-tuning his 1957 Chevy pickup. So between Emily's digital horsepower and Chris's classic horsepower, you're going to walk away today with ideas that you can actually use tomorrow and turn clicks into clients. So, Chris Brittain, please feel free to take it away.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Brandon, for the opportunity, and thanks for everyone who tuned in. I have no doubt Emily's portion of this presentation will be very informative and educational, and I just pray that mine is too. So as Brandon mentioned, I'm the marketing director at Sage Path Consulting. Some of you might be asking, what is Sage Path Consulting? So long and short of it, we're a consulting firm that works directly with individual advisors or firms. We're focused exclusively in financial services and help our clients with everything from practice management, strategic business growth, operational efficiency. And we also have a full suite of marketing solutions, including communications, graphic design, websites, social media management, et cetera, with flexible packages of everything from here's the keys to let us drive. So if anything we talk about today is any area of interest, feel free to reach out at any time. So today we're here to figure out why digital. No one's going to close a deal on Facebook, and I don't disagree. But for the most part, no one's going to close a deal on the golf course either. The reality is both of these mediums involve building and nurturing relationships, but one takes about 4.5 hours and can only be had with up to 3 extra people. The other takes 5 minutes and can be extrapolated over as many followers you have on your social media platforms, traffic to your website, and engagement with your Google business profile. We always say your overall digital presence helps you prospect while you sleep, outpacing traditional network marketing by a landslide. So if you think about how much time you might spend today, cultivating your current book or engaging with potential prospects and reaching out, with a good digital strategy, this helps clients and prospects start reaching out to you. So instead of investing your time dialing the phone or sending an email, you're simply responding to client outreach. So today we're going to be going over the overall importance of a digital presence and why it's a fantastic medium to engage with your current clients and select new ones. And then we'll also share some tips and tricks on how to help you get the most out of your social media. I would say more from a platform and strategy perspective, as well as your website and the importance of a Google business profile. So we'll be talking more so about the what or the how from a digital strategy perspective, and then Emily will be sharing more information on the what you want to do from a digital perspective. So if we look at overall in finance and people's expectations of digital experiences, consumer behavior, which we all know, is quickly shifting towards digital platforms. People are starting to expect these seamless, convenient digital experiences. Some for actual finance management, for things like, Wealth Simple and banking applications. But as digital engagement has become more ingrained in our lives, think of that Amazon experience. People are expecting slick, easy, digital engagement from everyone, including services and businesses that traditionally would have been founded on in-person connections. Now, we're not telling you that you need to go out and develop an app to engage your clients, but it's important to leverage digital mediums to engage with your clients to help keep you top of mind, and also potentially unleash a greater share of wallet. You may not want to grow your business through active prospecting. Most tire kickers want cheap prices and transactional experiences. And the last thing you want is people walking in your door looking for the cheapest rates on term or travel insurance. But there's a tremendous opportunity to leverage your digital properties and social media to engage existing clients, to uncover more opportunities, consolidate assets, or cross sell products. You may also leverage a referral model within your business. But the reality is 98% of all referrals still start with an online search before reaching out, which is why you want to have a strong digital presence to enable prospects to do their homework before they reach out. A lot of this comes down to what we like to call a meaningful content strategy, where you're selective with the content that you share. You want to emulate content that attracts the clients you want and inadvertently enables the clients you don't want to sort of see themselves out. But you want to create a good first impression with any customers. In an online search, your Google business profile and website are usually the first things to pop up, quickly followed by your social media properties. So that's what we'll be looking at today. But before we get into, the actual platforms themselves, it's important to consider the balance of your content. So, anything that comes across your Google business profile, your website, or your social media, really comes down to what we call capability and personality. So, when people are first looking for an advisor to partner with, the first thing they often look at is what is their capability? Do they have the ability to help me achieve my goals? But that's quickly followed by, would I trust this person? Can I be vulnerable? And can I see myself and my family working with them over the long term? Obviously, if people follow you on social media or land on your website or see your Google business profile, they know what you do for a living. So this is really an opportunity to add that value beyond product and reinforce the reason why people are working with you to help them achieve their financial goals. If all of your content is focused around reasons to invest or the importance of having the right life insurance coverage, they may not follow through with reaching out. So you always want to make sure that you're balancing that informative, educational content that doesn't always necessarily lead with a firm call to action, but to balance that off with the personal side, emulating like who you are as an individual and how you approach working with your clients. So we'll get into platforms next. And we'll start off with the Google Business Profile. So Google Business Profiles for some people are somewhat scary, but they don't need to be. It really is the secret weapon to helping your local search results and people within your geography find your business and reach out and contact you. But there's a few tricks to making it work for you. A number of people, the reason it makes them nervous because they're afraid of bad reviews in finance in particular, because there's a lot of things that aren't under your control. If their premiums get increased, if they've had a bad claims experience, or there's a downturn in markets, those aren't always something that you can account for. And, the client may post something that maybe isn't the most flattering as a result of that. But the reality is over 51% of the reason a Google business profile will come up to the top of search results is because of two things: accuracy and engagement. The reviews have nothing to do with it. So when it comes down to accuracy, You want to make sure that your hours, your address, your contact information are consistent across your Google business profile, your website, Facebook business pages, yellow pages, better business bureaus, etc. We actually use a tool that helps propagate your Google business profile information across over 40 different listings to ensure that they're all the same. um, and the second reason your Google business profile will dominate local search results is engagement. So, are you updating your hours to outline that you're closed, during holidays? Are you adding imagery? Are you updating, adding news items and posts, stuff like that? And are you engaging with the results? The best way to think of your Google business profile is to almost treat it like another social media account where you're regularly publishing content. Um, and you're sharing news, updating Q&As, all sorts of stuff. The next thing comes into engagement is the actual reviews themselves. So you want to make sure that you're responding to good reviews and bad reviews. And the reality is most consumers would not be swayed by a bad review. All of us recognize that you can't make everyone happy. But what the TSN turning point is how you respond to that as the business owner. So if someone leaves a bad review that, this would never happen in real life, of course, but I met with Brandon to renew my term policy, my premiums tripled, like what a crock, whatever. For you to respond to that and say, you know what, Chris, I'm sorry you had that experience. I'd love the opportunity to chat with you more about how we can find a flexible solution that, meets your needs. Um, is a way to sort of convert that negative review into a positive experience from a consumer perspective, but it also checks that engagement box. The other thing is that you're responding to positive reviews. I really enjoy working with Brandon. He's by far one of the most comprehensive financial advisors I've ever worked with, and I feel comfortable and confident knowing that he, is managing my financial plan. To respond to those and say, Chris, so happy that you've had a pleasant experience. I look forward to partnering with you for many years to come. Those are all different engagement points. And so the way that Google works is the actual review rating is probably the last thing that it'll look at. So let's say it's you and a competitor in the same geographic location. If someone types in, wealth management near me, financial advisor near me, insurance near me, and everybody is, we've got our business listings are accurate, we're engaging in the platform. Say a competitor has a 4.2 and we've got a 4.1, they might show up before us in a listing. But if you don't have a Google business profile, I strongly suggest you get one. It's free. All you need is a Gmail account. And what we find is it's the best way to help bring your website and your social media accounts and your business to the top of local search results, sometimes with better performance than like paid search engine marketing. And then the other element of that, not only giving you the opportunity for greater engagement, but helping with your review, is to ask for reviews. So, it could be something as like putting a QR code on the front desk in your office, leave us a review, putting a leave us a review line in the footer of your emails, or meaningfully reaching out to particular clients that you've had a good experience with and asking them to provide a review. So if you don't have a Google business profile, you should definitely get one. Next, we'll sort of look at websites. So most of the time when people land on a Google business profile, the next thing they'll do is check out a website. And this is whether or not it's through organic search or they're doing part of their prospecting. So your website is often that first point of contact with clients. It's an opportunity for you to tell your story without actually telling your story. This is really where you balance that capability and personality. Be thoughtful about how to position the people you work with, again, enabling client needs or experiences they would be having. But it really is to think about the content itself. This is probably not the place where you want to say, I offer wealth and risk management, but rather position your narrative around saying, I help people achieve their financial goals, protect their funds, or leave see that vision. Overall, as a website, you want to make sure that it's professional looking. You want to make sure that it's mobile friendly, easy to navigate. The average reading level for most Canadians is grade 5, so plain language is also important here. It also helps to establish trust with clients. You want to make it super easy for people to contact you. So if we think of, that sales funnel, the easier it is for somebody to book a meeting or get your phone number or something along that line. So you want to think of including things like, booking widgets, or things like that. But essentially, if you think of like social media, which we'll get to, and your Google business profile as like the top of a sales funnel, people are going to see high level content. They can drive back to your website to learn more about your business or a deeper dive on a particular piece of content. And then from there, they're going to book a meeting. So when you think of your strategy and how all of these things work together between social, your website, and Google, you can actually start to bring people through the first few steps of the sales funnel, which increases your capacity because you're not having to do it manually. But also, it's that prospecting as you sleep type area. So, next, we'll dive into social media. Today, we're going to be looking primarily at the top four platforms. So, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and LinkedIn. Here ranked by the number of users, although I'm sure this has probably grown. This data is about 3 months old, it's probably higher now. But the reality is, from a social media perspective, if you're not there yet or you're not leveraging it to its full potential, you should be. The average person spends 2.5 hours a day on social media, which is a huge window to make an impression. In comparison, the average person spends about 20 minutes a week looking at personal emails, most of which is deleting marketing material, recommendations from Amazon, sales from Canadian Tire, the like. And on average, that means that any individual social media activity accounts for 36% of our daily online activity. So more than 1 in 3 internet minutes are spent on social media platforms. And while we look at the topics or the places we want to play, 54% of LinkedIn users may be considered high net worth based on their job title or aligned organization. But you can bet all of those people have Facebook and Instagram accounts to keep tabs on their family, or they're occasionally watching a YouTube video about how to clear the jam in their ice maker. The next is to look at the reasons why people use social media, which creates a great opportunity for advisors. So, other than keeping in touch with friends and family, our next popular categories are, filling spare time, reading news stories, finding content, and leveraging social content for educational means and seeing what's being talked about. So people are engaging with social media under this expectation that they're going to learn things, see things, and uncover opportunities in and amongst themselves. So when we look at social media, it really is a very powerful tool that you could be and should be leveraging within your business. Um, so we'll do a quick glance overview. These slides will be available after the fact, so I won't do like such a deep dive into the content. But ultimately, each platform has their defined sort of audience, and the types of things that you may want to be sharing on it. You might think Facebook is where like grandparents with really bad profile photos keep tabs on their grandkids, but the majority of users are under 45 still. It is the most popular social media platform. This is where you may want to show more of your personal side, leveraging images or different infographics or signature moments. And you always want to have pictures. Pictures with any post get anywhere from 2 to 4 times the engagement than posts that don't. Quick glance over to YouTube. YouTube can be a very popular platform because everybody's on it. 90% of all people between 18 and 49 are using YouTube. And it's a great place to learn and gather information. So when you're thinking of posting educational content like complex financial ideas or strategies, or posting a webinar, it can be a really good platform to do that. And by having it on YouTube, you can also use this to leverage across your other social media platforms to drive traffic to your YouTube channel. The one thing I would say about video is it doesn't have to be scary. At one point in time, in order to sort of be on, put yourself out there as a professional, the expectation is production value is really high. But because of technology advances with, phones, GoPros, and other recording devices, the public's expectation of video quality has really dropped. And candid, low-tech, authentic content can perform just as well, if not better, than high production, high-value content. What I would say across all of these platforms is sort of look at the best times to post. So as you're selecting content to share, you want to look at when audiences are most active. So this is when there's a greater propensity to make an impression within your current followers, but also when you may get good organic traction across other followers. And then lastly, we'll look at LinkedIn. 70% of LinkedIn businesses report a positive ROI for business development and growth. So same thing, depending on your market, as far as making connections with other center of influences or other professionals. LinkedIn can be a good place to do to show sort of your business capabilities and credibility. You'll want to use images as much as possible. Posts on LinkedIn with multiple pictures get significantly higher engagement. Polls are also a really great way to increase engagement or get your brand out there. So every now and then you could do a poll, which could be anything about, hypothesizing about interest rates to guessing who's going to win the Super Bowl. Um, you may not necessarily find your wealthy farmers or machine shop owners on LinkedIn, but their suppliers are there, which may be, a great opportunity to lead to organic referrals. Or you could easily assume they're on Facebook for one reason or another. Another thing that's important when you're looking at your social media strategy is hashtags. So at one point in time, if anyone's seen the Justin Timberlake and Jimmy Fallon like hashtag that's awesome, it was a popularity thing. Now hashtags are just as strategic to track the types of content that people are liking and sharing. So for example, if Emily likes a particular post that has a particular hashtag, it may wind up in my feed because I follow Emily and I would therefore likely like what she likes. So hashtags are a great way in any of your social media content to help with that organic traction, help get your brand, your posts, and your business in front of other people. So there's some best practices here. Often you don't want to use many more than five. You want to sort of put them at the bottom of your posts, so it's not muddied with the rest of the meaningful content. And when it comes to how to use them strategically, some platforms now have AI-driven hashtag generation, which will look at your content and make recommendations based on what you're talking about to help provide hashtags that are more relevant to that content. You can also Google popular hashtags on any platform. We have a strategic partner who's Hootsuite. They're often publishing open reports that identify what the most popular hashtags are on each platform. And that's a great way to really work on that sort of organic traction and help your content propagate past your followers to other people. So, you know, you're going to dip into social media if you haven't already. You've got your social media strategy all sort of set up in your properties. But what do you do at this point in time? It's not, unfortunately, one of those field of dreams. If you build it, they will come. We always like to say that, the path to growing your social media following it's a journey. You want to make sure that you've got meaningful connections. So take a look at who your current followers are. Are they good ones? Are they current clients? Are they prospects and people you want to work with? Or is it all like wholesalers, other advisors, families, friends, or other colleagues that maybe aren't, potential opportunities? Um, Look to see, how could they help you grow your business? Just because you build these social media properties doesn't necessarily mean people are going to land there. You need to invite them. So also think about places that you could promote your social media profiles as a way for your clients to get valuable information. We like to call this that value beyond product approach. So you might not be meeting with all of your clients, for their annual reviews or whatnot. But if they're following you on social media, they have the ability to see that extension of your value, to, keep your brand top of mind and to recognize that you may offer, services and solutions that they don't have with you. And that's where it may be one of those things where you publish something about the importance of, diversification, and they think that, what, maybe that $250,000 I have sitting at Bank of Montreal might be better served with Brandon because he seems to know what he's doing. So, put your social media properties at the bottom of your email signatures, connect them to your Google business profile, put them on your website, do outreach, creating awareness that they exist. If you have a regular client communication plan, make sure like, hey, are you following us on social? This is what you're going to see. And then over time, you'll see that engagement start to increase. You also have the ability to invite them to follow on Facebook and LinkedIn. So those are also good behaviors to have. It's a journey. It requires an investment. But over time, you'll see that these small steps will organically grow the number of followers that you have, which will ultimately grow your business. The other thing that I would say is before you participate in maybe inviting followers or actioning a strategy, is take time to post a few things. The last thing you want to do is invite people to a blank page or invite people somewhere where you haven't posted something in 6 months or a year. They may not follow right out of the gate, but if you invite them to something that doesn't immediately sort of add value and it looks like you abandoned it a few months ago, you've probably lost them. So a little bit of upfront work before you open the floodgates to new followers. But at the end of the day, when it comes to social media, 73% of advisors who are leveraging social media for client engagement and prospecting are outperforming their colleagues. And I'd argue that the 27% who aren't probably just haven't seen this presentation or talked to Emily or myself. But a strong digital presence builds trust and authority, especially in a field like financial services. You want clients to garner value from your subject matter expertise in all aspects of their life, whether you're meeting with them regularly or not. And this is the best way to do that is to serve them valuable content where they are, on social media for 2.5 hours every day. Doing this also gives you significantly more reach. As your friends and followers like, share, comment on your content, their friends and followers will see it too, which will grow your audience and potentially your business in ways that traditional networking and outreach just can't. It's the how many hours in the day factor. So I hope that you found this valuable. But at this phase, I'm actually thrilled to pass things over to the lovely and talented Emily Reed from Hey Advisor, who will share a little bit more about how to be selective with the content you're actually sharing and the importance that it has in engaging your clients.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that intro. That was a great dive into all the different platforms. There were so many great ideas there, and I think advisors can really get a lot of great takeaways from that. So thanks for that, Chris. I'm excited to dig into the what. So what content are you sharing to build a strong digital presence? And more importantly, are you using that presence to build trust and grow your business? So now let's be honest with ourselves. Being an advisor today is very different than it was even just 10 years ago, probably even 5 years ago. Clients are approaching things in this profession with new habits and new expectations. So they're not just relying on referrals anymore or brochures, they're going online. So clients, again, are researching you on the internet. Before they send you an email, before they pick up the phone, they're forming an impression. So they're scrolling LinkedIn, they're checking your website, they're reading your posts, they're noticing if you don't have any, and they're asking, can I trust this person? Do they feel credible? Do they seem approachable? And here's the reality, those first impressions are made before you even get in the room with them. In my part of the session today, I'm going to walk you through having a meaningful digital presence. And so a little bit about me before we dive in. I've been on your side of the table. So I started my career as a financial advisor. I know what it's like to juggle client demands, the compliance requirements, and the never-ending to-do list. And I know it is how overwhelming it can feel when people say, you should just start posting more online and thinking, well, when and what am I going to post? And how do I make sure that I'm not overstepping on the compliance front? And that's exactly why I made the jump to transition to working with advisors and firms and helping bridge that gap between the need for visibility and the reality of time and compliance. And what I've seen time and time again is that when advisors do simple, repeatable content strategies, it not only saves them time, but it makes a real impact on their business growth. So today we're going to explore some practical strategies. I'm going to share some examples and I'm going to give you some steps you can start doing right away. So my hope is that you'll leave here with clarity and motivation and not just more ideas on your list. So let's dive in here. Chris kind of touched on this, but I do think it's a really important thing to reinforce that between 50 and 60% of new clients still come through referrals. That part hasn't changed, but what has is how those referrals behave. They no longer just pick up the phone, they look you up first. They search your name, they check your profiles, and they skim what's available about you online. And here's the reality again, what they find or what they don't find can either strengthen that or weaken it. If your content's clear, it's relevant, and it's up to date, it's going to reinforce positive things that they've heard. And if your content is inconsistent or missing, it might raise some questions. And that's why content itself goes beyond marketing, it's about your reputation. So making your content count. This is kind of the theme of the presentation today. I'm going to go into depth into all three of these, but I've really focused on educational content. The first thing you're going to want to think of is staying educational with your content. Clients want to see clarity. They don't want to feel pitched to. Educational content itself is going to position you as a guide who helps people make better financial decisions instead of a salesperson trying to push a product. You want to be consistent, so it doesn't have to be every day. Once a week is great. It's going to create familiarity. Consistency, it's going to actually build recognition, and recognition builds trust. And then the use visuals part. So Chris touched on this a few times during the presentation. People remember far more what they see than what they read or hear. A chart or a timeline or a quick like explainer graphic will stick with someone long after a paragraph of text has been forgotten. So when you combine education, the consistency, and then the visuals, your content's going to do more than just fill a feed. It's going to start to build credibility and connection. So I love this quote. Michael Kittis said that the most important factor in building lasting client relationships is education. And when clients understand their finances, they're empowered to make better decisions, and that builds trust. So education shifts the dynamic. It moves you from being a service provider to being a trusted guide. And when your content explains instead of sells and clarifies instead of complicates things, it shows that you care about helping people and you're not just looking to close a deal. And that overall is going to build a lot of trust online. When you stay educational with your content, you, in this essence, are leading with value. So, this is just a few ways and reasons why you should consider doing this. The first one, when you're creating content or finding content to share, you want it to guide, not sell. Again, clients don't want to feel pitched to. They want someone who's going to guide them to make better financial decisions. When you lead with education, you present yourself as a trusted guide, again, helping them kind of navigate the financial services world. It's going to simplify complex things. So, financial topics are often overwhelming, maybe not to us as advisors, but to clients, they can be very overwhelming. So, breaking them down into simple, clear visuals is going to make it approachable and memorable. And if a client easily understands something, they're more likely to engage with you further. They're also better advocates to explain what you do and how you help people. And this earns trust early. So trust is built again long before that first meeting. When someone encounters your content online, they're forming an opinion of you. And it makes that first conversation easier and more productive. So I worked with an advisor who started posting simple, like visual explainers on LinkedIn, and they weren't doing it before. Things like they shared one of our 1 minute videos on life insurance and an infographic that compared like disability and critical illness insurance. And at first, it didn't seem like anyone was paying attention. But after a few months, prospects began showing up to meetings referencing the posts. So one even said like something along the lines of, I feel like I know you already. I've been learning off your posts for months. So you might not see the results immediately. It's about getting started and then staying the course because it does build over time. This is a great quote I love from a marketing expert, Michael Brenner, because I believe it captures why educational content matters, especially for financial advisors. So people do business with people they know, like, and trust. Educational content is the bridge that builds that trust before the first conversation. Clients don't build trust by just seeing your title or your picture or your credentials. It's built through repeated value, and educational content can deliver value ahead of time. So when someone scrolls your post and they find it helpful, like something on TFSAs or insurance or budgeting, and they're learning from you already, that feeling of being helped and not sold to is what opens up the door. And you go from just being another advisor to someone they know, like, and trust and actually want to work with. Educational content isn't just for awareness. It's very effective in every stage of like a prospect journey. So first at the top of the funnel, it's going to short visual explainers like a quick piece on, let's say, charitable giving with life insurance or how to have family conversations about money can stop someone mid-scroll. It catches attention, especially when the topic is timely or tied to common questions that you get. As they continue to see your content, consistent posts or that explain financial topics in plain language build trust. So that middle of the funnel is where you're nurturing the relationship, you're showing your knowledge, you're making your values clear, and you're not selling anything. And then finally, just before that first meeting, your content become a reinforcement tool. So maybe they just saw a post that you posted on critical illness last week, and now they come into the meeting, um, not at point zero. They're already engaged. They're already thinking. Maybe they've formed some questions, and they're seeing the value you as a source of insight. The beauty about educational content is that it does scale. So one post can serve hundreds of people at different stages of their life, all while staying compliant and client friendly. Another advisor that we work with shared a simple infographic on the FHSA, so the First Home Savings Account, and their client later said to them, like, I showed this to my daughter and she finally understands where this fits into the big picture. So that piece itself didn't just educate their client, it actually sparked a family conversation and positioned the advisor as a trusted guide across generations. So tapping into their clients' adult children and being a resource there as well. So now we're going to talk about the consistency part. So there's a psychological principle called the mere exposure effect, and it means that the more often someone sees something, the more they're going to start to trust it. And that applies to your content. So when clients and prospects see you showing up consistently online, not just once in a while, but regularly, they become more comfortable with your name, your brand, and your message. Even if they don't engage right away, you're staying top of mind. So one advisor that we work with had been posting really short videos just once a week. And months later, when a prospect needed advice on group benefits, they reached out and they're like, you're the first person I thought of because I see your videos all the time. So the advisor hadn't spoken to them yet. There wasn't any outreach that they had done on their part, but that consistency kept their name top of mind for that prospect until it mattered. And there's going to be times in your prospects' lives where something changes in their life, maybe a question comes up. And if you're posting consistently, you're going to be the person that they think of because you're educating. So consistent posting actually creates 5 times more engagement. This was a study done by Buffer that analyzed over 100,000 social media accounts. And they found that those people that were posting consistently every week saw 5 times more engagement than those who just posted sporadically. That's like likes, comments, shares, profile views, all significantly higher just because they stayed consistent. Here's the encouraging part of this is that even if you're not posting every day, like moderate consistency, like once a week, can drive engagement 4 times more than being inconsistent. I think one of the worst things to do is to just get started and post one a day for 3 weeks and then disappear. You may as well spread that out over 15 weeks. You'll get more out of the algorithms and everything online. Now it's time to kind of step into the visuals. So we live in an attention economy. Every day, your clients are bombarded with information, emails, ads, social medias, news, updates. The challenge isn't just about being accurate anymore. It's about actually being remembered. And here's the catch, people forget what they read almost instantly, but they remember what they see. So studies show that we retain about 80% of what we see compared to 20% of what we read. So that's a huge difference. Think about your own habits. When you're scrolling online, what makes you stop? Is it a block of text or is it a graphic that summarizes the point in seconds? For most of us, it's the visual. And visuals aren't just sticky, they actually do perform better. So posts with visuals get about double the engagement of text alone posts, more likes, more shares, more comments. And in today's algorithm, that extra engagement isn't just to boost metrics, it actually expands your reach. So it means your content is more likely to be seen by someone outside your direct network, like a client's spouse, their children, their colleagues, and their followers. 2/3 of people are visual learners. So that means when you show instead of tell, you're meeting clients and prospects where they naturally can learn and process information. A visual that shares key things to think about when writing your will, or like a short video on the different insurance needs at different life stages, just sticks. They get remembered, they get shared, and they get saved. So when you're thinking about your digital presence, remember this, visuals aren't just for fun, they're not just a decoration, they are a strategy, and they can be the difference between a post that gets skipped and a post that gets saved. So I think Carl Richards said it in a great way. Simple visuals and clear explanations are the best way to cut through complexity and build trust with clients. Again, you sending a plain text reminder that TFSAs, you should max them out, it isn't wrong, but it's easy for someone just to ignore it. Now you can compare that to the visual of like breaking down a TFSA versus an RSP, and it gives your audience something to engage with, comment on, like, and share. And that's what makes content work at the end of the day. you're not already using video, here's why it matters. According to a study done by Smart Insights, video content gets 5 times more engagement than text alone. So even short, simple videos like a 30-second explainer or even doing a quick voiceover on a graphic can dramatically increase how many people stop, watch, and engage with your content. And because most advisors aren't using video consistently, it is also a powerful way to stand out in the financial services industry. But with that being said, I know it is more difficult to create videos. Sometimes it's outside your comfort zone to do that. And that's why we've really focused on that space at Hey Advisor and doing it for you. But at a minimum, you should consider adding visuals. So visuals don't just help with understanding. Again, they're going to help with that reach and the engagement. So adding an image to your post can boost engagement by 150%. That means more people are liking it and saving it and sharing it. And every time you include a graphic or branded visual, you're increasing that chance of being seen online, which is why we're doing it. So one concern that comes up with content, and rightfully so, is compliance. We are working in a highly regulated industry, but the good news is that educational content is naturally compliant as long as you're keeping it focused on general information and you're not making personal recommendations. So instead of telling people what to do, explain what it is and why it exists. An example would be, what is key person insurance and who does it benefit? You're not pushing products, you're just showing concepts of who it helps and what it is. Other things to kind of remember when you're doing it is to keep your tone neutral, avoid performance claims. We all know that one, and focus on helping your audience understand. Think of it as like a conversation sparker. Those are content that are educational, it's compliant, and it's going to be valuable to your audience. So let's say Chris and I have inspired you and you're ready to start building this great, impactful online presence, and you go like, where do I start? I like to break it down into a weekly habit. So the first thing you're going to do is start small. You're going to pick a theme. I like to say like pick a theme per month. It could be seasonal, like RSP deadlines, or something niche like budgeting for young families or strategies for business owners. Having a theme is going to help you keep your message focused and it's going to be easier to execute. Then, once you've got the theme, you're going to choose a content piece for that week that will fit that best. So this could be, again, we're trying to do visual, so an infographic or a video, something that you've maybe created yourself, or maybe you're a Hey Advisor user, or maybe your MGA or wealth management firm shares content that you can use. The point is to match the message with your audience's needs. And then the key is consistency. So using scheduling tools. So I know with SagePath, Hootsuite's a great one to use. You can also use like the social or the scheduler within LinkedIn, within Facebook. The goal here is focus once a week, set it and forget it. Don't scramble through the week. Don't put it there so that you don't get to it. You want to just sit down and get it done. And then once you're consistent with this process, you can actually move this strategy meeting to once a month and kind of look at your content plan for the month, schedule it, and go from there. So if you're not sure what to post, at Hey Advisor, we've actually created a free monthly content guide that you can download either directly on our website or by scanning that QR code. So this guide is designed to make your client communication and social media even more easier and more impactful. Instead of trying to come up with the ideas each month, it gives you a month-by-month roadmap of timely themes you can use to stay relevant with clients and prospects all year long. So for example, it starts, I believe it starts with like financial resolutions in January. We go into retirement planning, talk obviously tax season in March, and we end with family financial discussions because that's something around the holidays that people are getting together with family. So each month it highlights a theme that your clients are already thinking about, along with related content from our library that you can share to make it easy. So I'm just going to spend like 1 minute here, just really quickly telling you what is Hey Advisor and what we do. We're a Canadian platform built specifically for financial advisors, and our mission is simple. It's to make it easier for you to educate, engage, and stay top of mind with your clients and prospects. Our content library includes branded videos and infographics, so visual explainers on things like retirement, taxes, insurance, investing, along with pre-written email templates and social media captions. Every piece is designed to be client friendly, compliance ready, and really easy to use and share. What makes it powerful is our consistency. So not only do you get access to over 250 pieces right away, we also add new content every single month. So you always have something new and timely to share, whether that's on LinkedIn, in your email newsletter, or resource directly with clients in meetings. It's not just surface level. Our library does cover a full spectrum of conversations that you're having, from first-time investors and families to business owners, retirees. I just want to give you a quick example of a success story we had is recently we released a piece that was a pretty simple visual on how much life insurance do I need. And an advisor decided to include it in her regular monthly newsletter. So she does a newsletter each month, but this month she decided I'm going to put a visual in there. Nothing fancy. It wasn't a huge ask or task on her part to include it, just one share. Within days, she actually had three separate clients reply asking her for a meeting just to go more into more detail of to like how much life insurance would they need if they went down that road. And that's where the impact is that we want to see. It wasn't an advisor chasing a client. It was the client actually coming to her because the content sparked curiosity. It made it more approachable and positioned her as someone that would help them figure it out. And that's what happens when you have the right content at the right time. It's going to open doors, it's going to build trust and create opportunities for meaningful client conversations. And with that, on the left is all my contact information. On the right is Chris's, and always connect with us, both of us on LinkedIn. I know we're both on there. So happy to connect. And I'll kind of pass it back, I think, to Brandon at this point.
Beautiful. Yeah, thank you so much, Emily and Chris. You're both clearly subject matter experts here, and I've definitely taken some things away from this presentation, even though I'm one of the more active advisors I know on LinkedIn. So I'm quickly going to run through a couple of situations where you can integrate technology into your regular workflow outside of the traditional posting on social media. So when Emily had that pyramid she was describing of sort of like attracting people into the funnel, I'm going to focus more on sort of the clients that are already in the funnel or the people you're already engaged with. So right here, this is essentially a client that we acquired in our firm. We held an introductory meeting, and this is our follow-up email. What we've done here is we've integrated links to Advisor Flow, which has data collection templates to update their KYC and build out their financial plan. Then we cement in the conversation with supporting articles and videos from Hey Advisor and our blog. The goal with an email like this is to get the client to take action and to make it easy to do that. The Advisor Flow link is essentially offering a branded sign-in with the advisor's face and logo. The client could then update their risk tolerance, complete their budget, and update their net worth, which allows us to build them a financial plan and meet our compliance obligations in a natural way that is ultimately helping the client move down the planning process. Now, this email and these softwares don't replace the high value conversations, but it enhances them. It helps you run a more streamlined process. The reason why iPhone and Apple became so successful, it's because they thought through every single interaction from the moment someone walks into the store to when an email is sent to a client to when they unbox the iPhone. You as financial advisors, you're the Apple store of your clients when it comes to their financial life. Every interaction should feel seamless and purposeful. The way I see it is like we're basically conductors of our client experience. And since most advisors don't have a tech background or a tech department, you need software partners that can amplify your process and not complicate it. Because that's a big issue I think most advisors have is that their process is clunky and complicated and they just say, oh, it's my dealer's process. But I think it's up to us to take a little more ownership and work with our dealers to make the client experience a little bit more seamless. And then with Hey Advisor, because we're implementing supplemental material like videos and infographics, that really helps explain the strategies in clear English and reinforce the value of what we spoke about on a Zoom call or an in-person communication with a client. So at our firm, we really put ourselves in the client's shoes. Why are you asking me for this information? Well, here's a video that explains that what's in it for them. Here's an infographic that's easy on the eyes. That's what's ultimately going to be the difference maker between just gathering data and files and building trust. In January of this year, we doubled in size through an acquisition, and we haven't lost a client. In fact, we're in multiple new engagements that could see our AUM grow by as much as 50% over the next year. And of course, plenty of insurance opportunities. And of course, a lot of this had to do with the retiring advisor and how smart he was with the transition plan. But I do need to attribute some success to the software processes that we've integrated and the team that we have assembled to meet and engage with these clients. Okay, so I want to leave a little bit of room for questions. So we'll move over to the Q&A portion. I want to hear, what challenges are you running into with your client experience and with your marketing? What type of media works best with Facebook? Let's kick that one over to Chris.
Sure. Truthfully, video will always win. It's definitely a more engaging. I don't know, encourages people to watch. So, I would say, video one, photo certainly second, and then as far as format goes, I would say the big thing with the videos that you're sharing, you want to make sure that the format is going to work. Majority of users on Facebook are on mobile devices, so you want to make so real sizing is good, or like 1080 by 1080 square form is good. Good news, Hey Advisor content comes baked in those predetermined formats, and as are the collateral that we would create for clients too. So I would say video number one, imagery second, as a bare minimum, and then I would say optimize your content for mobile engagement.
Great. We have another question here that says, how long did it take you to get both platforms integrated in the way that you're using them? Well, I built Advisor Flow, so for me, it was pretty easy to get that integrated because I built it around my practice and what I got as feedback from clients. Hey Advisor, it took us probably about a year before we were, I would say, actively using it on a regular basis because we basically integrate their pieces of content into some of our email templates that both my associates and myself use on our regular engagement. So if you don't have the capacity to do this yourself, use a firm like Chris and Sage Path to come in. Yes, you got to pay them some money to help build out a strategy for you and help you implement. But if it means that you actually do it, that's the important thing. Because I think a lot of advisors have a capacity issue and they use that as an excuse for why they're not making things better for their clients. But when you've got great software companies, you've got great implementation specialists, it becomes much more real to enhance the client experience. If I post a video video on Instagram, should I have it go over Facebook as well, or would you suggest focusing all in on one platform?
Yeah, I can jump in on this one. I think you don't need to recreate new content for each different platform. I think recycling content is a good way to show that you are a consistent person in what you're talking about. Your values are the same. So do not do two different ones. I would just be posting them, and it makes it really easy, like even through Meta Business Suite, to be able to post to different platforms, or if you're using something like Hootsuite as well, through Chris and Sage Path.
Yeah, we use Vista Social as like a scheduling platform, which is similar, I think, to Hootsuite. Ultimately, whatever works for you. There's shorts content, there's long form content, there's lots of different styles. Now, while we still have a good group in the room, I would like to just bring up a quick poll on our next event. So we like to do this as a bit of a vote. And so if you could just take a moment and think, which of these topics would you love to see next? And then we'll go find some of the best subject matter experts in Canada, just like we did for today's event, and put on an event hopefully later this fall. So we've got how to streamline your practice and drive client satisfaction, how to close bigger cases through strategic partnerships, or how to build an ensemble practice and unlock a multi-advisor firm. Okay, it looks like advisors are really interested in the streamlining your practice option, which makes a ton of sense, I think, based on today's topic of conversation. Cool. Okay. Yeah, I think that's a clear winner. Thank you, everyone, for participating in that poll. Make sure you follow us on LinkedIn. We'll keep you posted on when the next session will be. Okay. Other question that came in was, how long does it typically take to start seeing results on social media? I think either of you touched on this a little bit, but let's say an advisor already has a large following. What are some examples that you've seen?
Yeah, I think, a lot of it is depending on what the result is. So if you publish something, are people gonna, ring your phone off the hook or like flood your inbox with, I need to make this decision or do this thing or I want to talk more? There's a lot of variables. I think ultimately what you're trying to accomplish is get the largest soapbox with the largest audience. And so the opportunities for the content that you're sharing to resonate with someone is always ebbing and flowing. Typical clients that we work with, where we'll develop a social media strategy and we'll publish things on their behalf. We've seen things like 20 to 30% follower growth in a 3 to 6 month period. And then after that, the number of, I would say, conversions or interest, it really depends on the content strategy and what your desired outcome is. So I would say is don't necessarily look at the return on investment. Like don't look at the cost of doing it or the return on investment of doing it. I would look at what's the unintended cost of not doing it. So what we're proposing, if you were to do it yourself, is probably 20 minutes a week. And so, set a standing calendar reminder. If you have a service like Hey Advisor where you're selecting content or us with Hootsuite, it's probably even more streamlined where you can log into one place, pick Hey Advisor's content or some of our own proprietary content, publish it to all of your platforms from one piece of technology, or we could do it all for you. But I would say the length of time is a bit of a moving target, as is what are the results. But I would say more so, what's the cost of not doing anything? When the cost of doing something can be really simple and really easy to work into a weekly activity.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? I think a lot of the largest firms I see don't do content at all. And it actually is a good opportunity for perhaps some of the younger, more nimble firms that are out there posting regularly.
Yep.
And I think that's potentially an opportunity. Now, we are getting close to the top of the hour, so I did just want to quickly run through some of what's coming up with Advisor Flow. So for those of you that have been using our product, thank you for your consistent feedback. We recently rolled out our most recent AI feature. And so for those of you that have used that and tested it out, thank you. For those that haven't seen it, you can basically drag and drop your PDFs into the product, and then it'll create a cloud-based form experience that is API mapped to other forms, as well as your CRMs. So if you haven't yet tested this out, please do give us some feedback. The more advisors that use it, the more feedback we get, the better the product becomes. Coming up, we're also enhancing the Teams functionality. So we've got some larger advisor teams who've been using the product, and they've asked for essentially permissions-based access for a variety of different things. So if you haven't seen this or you're curious about how it might work in your practice, please book a demo with us. Brad Hartfield on our team would be happy to kind of walk you through what this would look like for existing advisors on the product or for new teams. Okay, so we're coming to the top of the hour. I want to first of all thank everyone for attending today, and hopefully you got some great value out of this session. I want to thank Emily Reed from Hey Advisor and Chris Brittain from SagePath. Both brought a ton of value today, and I know there's some pieces I'm going to be integrating into my practice right after this. Chris, Emily, any final words from you before we depart?
Thanks for having me. It was great to be here with both of you. And yeah, I hope people took some things away from it. And we're always happy to connect after and answer any questions as well. So
Yeah, same deal. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the opportunity. Yeah, and anyone who attended, feel free to reach out. Happy to have a conversation.
Beautiful. Thanks everyone for joining us today. And the only way we get better is if we keep working collaboratively with our tech partners, implementation partners, and fellow advisors. So thanks for being a part of the community, and we'll talk soon.